and welcome to Zwift Live. I am your host, Nathan Guerra, and we are here for our community racing feature on this special date of Monday, December 30th. A little bit different than our usual on the Tuesdays, as we are covering the community race with Team INOX, the winter tour for 2024-25. We're today on the Glasgow Crit Circuit. And this is actually going to be a tour that they are running all the way through March of 2025. This is a heads up for next week as well. We will have a special in with Z Racing. We'll be covering stage 2 on the Beach Island Loop with some special new features in with the Z Racing Flat is Fast. But back in with the Team Inox and our host for today, our co-host for today, it is going to be none other than Mr. Dave Toll. Dave, it's good to have you with us today and excited to get back in with Team Inox in their winter series.
Yeah, they do a great job. They really do. I'm impressed by the organization here. We're heading back to Glasgow, 8 laps. It's a well-known circuit, so expecting quite a throwdown out here. And I did see that 2-time world champion Los Adejes is joining us today.
Yeah, signed up. I am seeing quite a few riders jumping in, actually, that are going to be new to the series, probably in for a workout out there today. We are going to take a quick look at the course. It's going to be a short one out there today. Champion Sprint and the Clyde Kicker are going to be the main places of contention out there. Clyde Kicker, Dave, it's got a couple different tactics you can have out there with it. You can do a little bit of a jump or a roll-in with the pack. Both we have seen successful in the past. The Champion Sprint's also a very tactical one we've seen a lot of different tactics with.
Yeah, this is a great course for someone who's looking to really throw down. A lot to work with out here in Glasgow. I mean, it is, if this were an in real life crit course, Nathan, you'd see some of the best racing on the planet here. And certainly that's what we're expecting out here today. It is a relatively small field, so nowhere to hide on a hard course. It's going to be a bit of an elimination game, I got to think.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, let's take a quick look at the current standings in the Inox League standings for the Cat A. We're just going to be taking a look at the time standings out here today. It does look like at the top it's going to be Matthew DeSchmidt leading things out. Van Lee Golf in second place right now. Gonzalez Ruiz for the Team Inox, followed up by James Carton sitting in fourth place. Alain Seniel for FFC, the Frenchy Fusion team, there in fifth. Hugo Pesselin, followed up by Carlos Leon. And then Marzio Vanoni for TSE. It's going to be Tito Pez for Inox, as well as KK there. Going to be quite a ways back, though. Some pretty big time gaps opening up here in the standings right now.
Yeah, they're much like any of the Grand Tours. They look, and this is 21 days of racing, I believe, as well with the Inox. The thing here is we've got sprint points, we've got KOM or QOM points to look at. So really, the one thing that's interesting to me, Nathan, is that you can jump in and out of events. So unlike a tour, it's more of an omnium in your ability to pick and choose the events that you want to race. But you can see that Matthew here with a 1 minute and 56 second advantage. That's a nice gap here early on.
Yeah, big gap out there for the overalls on the time. Now, as far as people to be watching out for on the start list out there today, Dave, you said Los Adeges had shown up today. Anybody? Let's see if there's anyone actually in this list. I really do think that Gonzalo Ruiz, he's going to be watching out for some stuff here. Matthew DeSchmidt has shown up as well. So the ESRT obviously focused in on this one.
Yeah, Inox has 3 riders, Gonzalo Ruiz, Andrea Seri, and Massimiliano Casnati. So we'll be watching for them. They've got the top team out here. Remember the name Dan Manolo? He's back, Nathan, the OTR racing standout. It's going to be fun to watch him out here today. I see that Santi Pereira, the Pita Z rider, also here, the Spanish rider that I'd be keeping an eye on. So it's an interesting field.
Yeah, there's another rider, Neil McLagan, coming out of Canada for United Velo. This is a rider we saw have take a few risks, actually, the first time out last week in the coverage. So I'd be watching out for him. He seems to be somebody who definitely likes to make moves early and often. But being on this course, Dave, the risks, it's going to be interesting how they're going to be taking them. Let's go ahead and head right down into the racing 1 second until they're going to be taking off. This is a rider we saw have take a few risks, actually, The first as the riders are jumping out on course. Let's see if we can get in actually with McLaughlin. As a few extra riders, Jay Hennessy here from Draft, as you can see as well. Small field, but I think it's going to be quite the punchy one here out on course.
All right, yeah, and I'm going to expect with just 8 laps of racing, which will equate to 24K, they're going to get after it in a hurry. No real peloton out here, Nathan, which would absolutely benefit the riders that want to get out with an aggressive start, let the chips fall where they may. You're not going to see a lot of organization from a chase back if you do decide to attack early.
The fans already cheering everyone on, it looks like, here out on course, and it's a good call there as far as I think the ability to make a break stick out here today, I think, is definitely going to be something to be watching out for, as it is going to be Le Golf here that makes the initial moves.
Yeah, he seemed to be following that script, and now the counterattack coming up and over the top. It looks like that's going to be Brandon York, Farmers Racing rider. Now things maybe, I think these guys, you got to get the measure of your opponents out here, and I think everybody's going to find their rhythm pretty quickly today.
Ruiz, INOX covering the front. Now at the back of the pack, we do see Sanders there. It looks like maybe moving his way up toward the front. There's going to be a setup each and every lap, I think, for what's to come here with this Clyde kicker. Van Leth now in for second wheel. The Dutch rider, I think, looking to set up right on Ruiz's wheel. Looks like perhaps INOX only with 2 that I can see here right now.
Yeah, and I do see another scratch. It looks like we won't have Lois in the field as well. She must have registered for the event, but has withdrawn her inscription, it looks like.
I wonder if the riders are going to be perhaps out here with a mass start, or starting, maybe not mass start altogether, but I am seeing a few of the B category riders also mixed in the rider nearby list. So if this does end up being a situation where they could end up mixed in together a little bit, that'll make the racing a little bit more interesting for how they're going to manage the reality of 2 races interacting in one.
I wonder what the time gaps, the intervals between starts from our A's back to our B's were.
I think it was about a minute as far as I'm looking at here. I think it's about 60 seconds, the differentiation that I'm seeing at this moment. INOX, though, with Siri here making the first moves up and over the top of the Clyde kicker. A little bit of a gap now, open it up. McLaughlin now, he's making a move to try and bring this back. Ruiz sitting right on the wheel there. And that's going to be Hennessy from Draft. Watch out for him with that aero power up now being popped here. Only at 2.7 watts per kilogram, but plenty of speed to hold on to that wheel. Group of 4 now could see a little bit of separation if they continue on, but can be covered very quickly, it looks like, by Schmidt as well as Carton.
Well, the old slide from the Clyde seems to be, we talk about downhills being the new uphills, and it's not attacking up Clyde Hill. It's what happens in the aftermath of that, and INOX came with a plan out here today. So let's look at some, I would say, textbook racing right now from INOX as they put one rider off of the front. So looks like the 2 power-ups are going to be, absolutely critical on a day like today as well. We talk about the gamification in Zwift, Nathan, and this is the kind of course that really, that gamification comes into play at a higher level.
Yeah, it definitely does. And that roll through speed, where have we seen that right there? Exactly right there. Kaminsky last year, Zwift Games making I believe it was Kaminsky, if I'm not incorrect, with a solid move right there. And Ruiz maybe trying to play a little bit of a Kaminsky card.
It's interesting, but again, that was in the last lap. Right now, well, with this small field, why not? If you're feeling it, put them in the box out here. Force them to chase a little bit. It's almost like peppering them with some jabs before you throw that knockout punch here in Scotland today. I'm sure there have been plenty of brawls in Glasgow through the years, and we got another one shaping up right now here, Nathan. Some riders getting spit out the back a little bit. Really requires grinta to stay in a peloton like this. There's the helmet, the arrow power up being used quite handily.
The Goff now making a move. Nicely done. A little bit of a punch, as you can see, but looking like he's easily going to roll right on through. And I think maybe battling a little bit for some fast sprint points here, perhaps, out here with Le Golf is what we were seeing there. Sanders now looking for the cover from Mutant, and INOX, Carton, now trying to come on through. Looks like there's going to be an easily making a catch now. And Sanders from Mutant now covering, killing that, and controlling it.
All right. Yeah, really not a lot of wiggle room in a group like this. INOX is going to roll the dice one more time here. So that's really cool to watch, Nathan. They came in with a plan, these two. Just kind of working it right now. Not completely going all in out here, but certainly I would give the men in black, that's being the INOX team, our host club here, credit for animating this race.
Yeah, I think they're going to stay pretty calm until this next section. A little bit of a lead out now, it looks like, from Siri. He's pumping it up to 4.4 watts per kilogram. Now sitting back a little bit is going to be his teammate Ruiz. Sitting second wheel, though, Henry, it looks like Helman, I believe that is. The Swedish rider, if I'm not incorrect. Or is he a little bit up the road there, actually? We've got a few riders in the rider nearby list up the road. I think we are going to start seeing some mixture, actually, of them. But Siri here making a nice little move, looking for perhaps some FAL up at the top of here, or perhaps a break. McLaughlin now sitting second wheel. Lots of power-ups being thrown down. I'm not sure they're going to make the catch, actually. I think Andrea Siri here is going to be able to take this down. 15 watts per kilogram, though, coming from him. Sanders actually is going to be the rider here from Mutant, looking to come across with that arrow power-up. If he jumps onto this wheel, we could see a situation with a break now.
And I think that's what you were talking about, Nathan, some lapped traffic that they're going by here. So probably some other categories, I think, that we're looking at.
Yeah, I do think so. I do think that they were starting with perhaps also the bees out on course. I did see them in the pens. So I have a feeling we are going to see some lap traffic. And this is going to get really interesting because the lap traffic might be able to jump in and amongst them and hang on and maybe find themselves back at the front of their race.
But I got to be honest, Nathan, doing the Rafa Festive 500 right now, about 100 kilometers to go. And one thing I've realized, you can see those groups coming up behind you, and trying to latch on with that kind of speed differential, it'll put you into the red zone quick out here. So if anybody can pull that off, I have a whole new level of respect for being able to go a lap down on these monsters and latch on.
Festive 500, almost done. Nicely done, Dave. That's awesome to hear. You're actually further ahead than I am. I've got some days to catch up at this point.
Yeah, just went down under 100K to go. And what are we looking at now? Basically a day and a half left to complete it. So I'm committed. I really am.
You got some time etched out tonight, Dave? Is that what's specifically?
Immediately after this broadcast, I think.
Oh man, I'm gonna
I
maybe
did 50K last night.
What are you gonna be doing? Is what I'm wondering. Maybe I need to jump in with Dave. What's the ride? Is my question.
Well, yeah. Do you really see yourself going at 1.8 watts per kilo for 50K? You would be so bored out of your mind, Nathan. I couldn't even the pacer bot I'm with gets bored during some of my efforts. But definitely those pacer bots are a gift from heaven. If you're looking to get in Ks, you can just sort of settle into your rhythm. INOX, though, Nathan, I have to think, and I apologize there's a lot of ins and outs with this INOX series, but there's points awarded as well along the way in a sprint competition. And I have a feeling that might have been a sprint lap.
Yeah, I do think that we are getting some sprint points, but we'll try and get a little bit of information across for those. But really, we're going to be covering today for what we can, for what's available for us. We'll mainly be taking a look at, we'll definitely highlight the idea that they are going for these, but at the same time, it'll be more across the line.
And Nathan, I think we're going to so if this was an actual in real life USA cycling event, this would be an official's greatest nightmares. We're going to integrate two different fields here. Now it looks like the A's are, I think, about to catch the back of the B group here. And Nathan, I apologize too, as far as there's a lot of information. We jumped in with these two races filling in between a series that we had been doing and will be doing going forward. But this really would have required a huge investment in time to get up to speed with what the INOX folks are doing here. They've created a really comprehensive series, no doubt about it. So I'm a little behind on my preparation, to be honest.
Yeah, understandable.
It's on me.
Sure.
Yeah,
understandable, definitely here. Now, as they are catching this other category, this is going to be an interesting one. You could just ride the wave on this, couldn't you? That'll be the thing.
So now officially, if this were in real life race, they would say these groups need to stay separated. There's no merging here. But in this case, that's not necessarily true. It's if you can hang on with this group as they go by, all of a sudden you went into a turbocharged breakaway. Taking a look at that feather, that lightweight power up being thrown, and now the attack over the top. INOX is on the gas right now. That's going to be
Gonzalo Ruiz again.
Right,
it was Siri
right.
who took it, though. It was his teammate Siri, I believe, who did take it. He's been taking just about every single one. But the Argentinian Ruiz, he is the one who came over the top for an attack. We'll see if he tries to stay away. Or was that an FTS he was going for? That's the big question mark here at this point. But Siri here from INOX now, I think, was the one able to take an FAL through there.
Nathan, you've done so many races through your, what Zwift is 10 years old, and you've been with them for every pedal stroke. For the racers, they will have a race book that they'll have all of this information, and it's certainly, coming in with a plan requires a lot of focus and attention to detail. There's a lot of moving pieces in a race like the INOX series that we're getting stuck in with. Gonzalo's going to make them pay.
I like this move here because I think there's enough FAL on this course as well as the final, like across the line, that to get away is worth it. It's those situations where, even if there are a few FTS out there and there's a few sprints that you're going to miss out on, there's enough FAL and the final points across the line. It's always worth it in that kind of situation. At least for me, especially the satisfaction of just taking the win outright.
I think it's like a lot of things in life, Nathan. It's like you have to commit to one or the other. You're either playing for FTS, you're either playing for FAL. As if you try to do both, I think that's where you fail, to tell you the truth. It takes a very special rider, right? I mean, you think back, sure, I guess we've seen someone start at the back in an FTS section and come through and pick up the top FAL and FTS. I mean, it does happen. Super athletes can do that. But for your mere mortals, I think it is better to focus on one goal rather than trying to play everything.
The golf here, nice one there from him. Do you see that arrow power up coming on through? And Jan now taking one down, it looks like, for the champion sprint, as we've got 14.9K to go and backing right on off. And obviously these riders here saving up plenty for each and every one of these sprints out here. But Jan taking one down.
Yeah, good for him. That's a make your mark in this race, and that's exactly what Jan Goff has done there in the blue jersey. They're going to reel him back in now as we hit the reset button.
I get the sense that Hennessy is here for the scratch of it all, and I get the sense that he's like in the middle of all of this craziness going down with these big sprints, and he's like, "Well, I'll just go along for the ride," and eventually these guys are gonna tire out a little bit and take him down in the end. I get the sense that's what's going on with Jeremy right now.
One heck of a pacer bot, right? You want to get, these would obviously, virtual rides of any type, count towards your Rafa Festive 500. So it's a good way to burn in some quick kilometers out here. All right, so a couple Canadians there. You get a few Canadians together, you never know what's going to break out. Nathan Hennessy, certainly one we're watching here, the draft rider with the Scotty the Squirrel hat. I think DeSmet might be the rider to beat today in this group, Nathan.
Yeah, well, he is the current leader for the series, right? As far as the times go. So I have a feeling there's going to be some time. There are some time bonuses out here for this race, I think. And so I'd be on the watch out for this, but Siri just continues to be the dominating force. Using that feather power up, nobody can stop him on this sprint over and over again, just taking one down after another. He's loving this Clyde kicker. Now, he doesn't necessarily have it, though, on the champion sprint. On the Clyde kicker, he's taking them all down, but the champion sprint over and over again, I think they're getting the better of him on the tactic for that one.
He set up his teammate nicely there, set the stage for a counterattack up and over the top. So INOX has been super out here. It just shows you that the resiliency of this group at a really, really high level. Kind of hard to imagine a group sprint when this is done and dusted, Nathan. I have a feeling it's going to be a couple seconds for one solo rider.
Yeah, I wonder if this is going to end up splitting with the amount of firepower that we see going off the front over and over again. I just get the sense that perhaps now this is the kind of situation where I think Jeremy you've got Tim Sanders in here from Mutant, who's got that 5.8 or 327 for 20 minutes. And on the other hand, you got this monster that can do 1,098 watts for 15 seconds at 13.2 versus a 10.8. I mean, the differentiation between that 20-minute to that sprint, this is really where you're seeing two different race types out here on course.
And I think fascinating, Nathan, when you look at it, and you might say, well, how would Tim Sanders ever possibly beat Jeremy Hennessy on a course like this? And that's the thing I love about racing, is the more you know, you realize, well, Tim Sanders needs to play his cards right, and certainly he doesn't come in with an advantage, but if he can make this race hard enough and keep Hennessy on the ropes and keep catching him on the wrong side of gaps, you certainly have a lot better chance. So the way someone like Sanders has an advantage is by being smart.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll see how that ends up playing out for Sanders, because he could just put a guy like Hennessy on the ropes, as you had said. Nobody really contesting that one. You can see for the champion sprint, it looks like, as we're 12K to go, just a few more laps at this point. And I have a feeling we're going to see a monster attack here later on in the race, perhaps from the mutant rider, Tim Sanders. But again, Hennessy here, if he gets set up perfectly, I don't think there's much stopping him in a sprint. And with the way he's sitting in, I get the sense he's the man to beat out here, but we do see a couple others sitting on. No. This orange jersey, the pink jersey here, Dave, a couple of these riders not really getting too involved.
Which is a good sign in some cases if you're looking at it from their perspective. I am looking... I'm with you, Nathan. It's really a challenging group to win out of here. So many evenly matched riders, and I think they're starting to recognize that.
Gonzalo Ruiz, though, has a monster sprint as well, I'm seeing, as well as Matthew DeSmit. So Legolf, Neil McLaughlin, I mean, they've got monster kicks here. So
actually, yeah, there's a few riders here. Ruiz is listed at 18.6 watts per kilo. Raw watts, Nathan, 1376. Although this is going to be interesting. It really is. Because DeSmet, I have a feeling DeSmet's the guy. I really do.
Yeah, and he's on the move again here, as you can see, spinning things, it looks like, up here. But here comes, is that going to be Siri and Ruiz again? DeSmet trying to get the better of him.
Yeah.
Whew. Now there comes Neil. Neil now again, up and on through. And now I think this is when we're going to start seeing the cracks. We're starting to see the real pain, I think, starting to kick in of all of the kicks we've seen over and over again. Neil McLaughlin here now coming on through. It's going to be the mutant rider as well coming through, trying to close things down. There goes Tim Sanders. Matthew DeSmit, it's a good call here. He's been involved in this series all the way through, and he's going to want as much of a time bonus as he possibly can get. So will he be able to take the win out here? He does have a solid 15 watts per kilogram behind that Gonzalo Ruiz. Jeremy Hennessy, though, not challenging any of this. That's one thing even if he doesn't have the best watt per kilogram kick, he's got one of the higher for raw watts, and it is a downhill slightly, alongside of the fact he's sitting at 4.3 watts per kilogram in this group. Everyone else is higher. Everyone.
Yeah, right. He's riding a really smart race. Good catch on that, Nathan. He's setting himself up for success. You're right.
I mean, a full watt per kilogram or more less than the rest of the riders, there's something to be said for that. There's got to be when it comes to the energy at the end of the race.
100%. Let's keep an eye on that. That's the rider in red that we're talking about.
Well, right Santa here. Pereira as well. They're actually equal. He's the P to, is that the P to Z rider? I believe that's the P to Z rider that we've got here. Yeah, Santi Pereira. He also is at a very low watt per kilogram here at this point. 146, 147. As long as he doesn't let this go too much here at this point, because I think they're going to sprint for this one. This is a dangerous situation he's kind of putting himself in if they do give this a go. Hennessy at the back as well. These two are going to be watching each other, I feel, for the outright win for the scratch. But here comes another sprint for the champions.
All right, we're past the middle part of this race. Not a dangerous game, Nathan, but this is the reason why these two have the lowest average watts per kilo at this point, is they've been trusting that they're not going to see an attack that sticks off of the front. So far, they've been right. They really are keeping a good charge on their batteries, aren't they? Where everybody else is, going to start going into the, less than 10% left on your battery. They're still sitting up in the 50s.
Yeah, he let a little bit of a gap go there, though. He had to work a little bit more than necessary, perhaps, for that one. But Santa Pereira now back on terms with them. Going to back right on off to 1.7 watts per kilogram. Does Inox have a rider off the front? Is Siri here? No, he's not. Sorry about that. It's actually going to be Inox still in and amongst it.
And what I've learned through the years, Nathan, is that he chased back a little too hard right there. There was no reason to roll through the whole group and go to the front. And that is literally the difference of, 2 extra hard pedal strokes, Nathan? That's how subtle the difference is of chasing back and getting in the slipstream versus wasting a few watts by rolling through the group and finding yourself on the front for no reason.
I am seeing
those little tiny things add up.
Going to be 3 more times up and over the top of the Clyde kicker as we come through the 16K marker in a moment here. We're going to have 8K to go. Another couple of times. 3 more of these sprints. Can it hold together? Is it going to be a bunch pack to the line? David, your prediction there that we're going to have perhaps stragglers left, right, and center to the finish. These riders that they're coming through, they're going to be a little bit of an interruption for everybody to try and work their way through, but because of the kick here, most likely just going right on through them. Here comes Hennessy with an aero power up. Interesting enough this time. That's probably just to hang on. Going to make sure that the gap doesn't go away, because Siri there does grab that one again, and now the roll through speed all back together.
You can see, though, things are changing out here, Nathan. The INOX team doesn't have the same pop that they did a couple laps ago. And I think the other riders are sensing the blood in the water now, like sharks.
Ooh, Santi, is that a roll through on accident there? Getting covered quickly there? Yeah, you're right. You're right, Dave. Things are starting to get a little more argy-bargy. We're not seeing the group quite as consolidated at certain times. People are looking for cracks here. And this is a move. This is a real move.
Yeah, and I mean, Nathan, these are the moments when you find out what you're about as a bike racer, because a all-in attack now, it might be just the ticket, and he looks like he's going full gas here. So we've talked about downhills being the new uphills. If he's going to get a gap, he's got to keep the pressure on. It looks like it might be splitting the chase behind him as well. So this thing has gone ballistic here in Glasgow as we take a look at the real strongmen. Nathan, we're inside of 3 laps to go. Not much racing left here.
ESRT off the front. Nice little move here coming from Matthew DeSmit. He used the feather power up into a downhill, actually, which is a little bit of an interesting one. I mean, if he would have used that a little bit earlier, I wouldn't be quite as because being lighter on the downhill is not necessarily going to help you, but he wanted the watts per kilogram kick into the uphill into the downhill. They are chasing pretty hard, though, it looks like to me, Dave. I mean, they're not letting that get much distance. Getting right on through this main pack. This sprint now might help him out, as Gabriel now from the INOX team is going to give him a draft.
Yeah, does he not realize, of course he wouldn't, that this draft that he's giving him is hurting his teammates in a different category, although I think it's neither here nor there, to be honest. Look at this. It is bedlam right now in Glasgow. We got riders all over the course here. So I'm going to say, Nathan, that, so DeSmet is our solo leader. Looking at that gap, they're not giving much leash, but enough that it's going to be interesting here. That's our leader. Again, the Dutch rider, DeSmet here. ESRT in full flight late in this race, just like he benefited a little bit from going through that other category. Now the chase will be benefiting from that. That's going to be worth a few tenths of a second of trying to whittle back this advantage that our leader has right now. This is quite an effort now from DeSmet.
Again, yeah, Tim Sanders closed it down right there, as well as Ruiz, Dave. It looks like, man, it's good effort though.
Yeah, I like that they're playing their cards like this out here. They're certainly not just pedaling around Glasgow waiting for the sprint, Nathan. These guys have been at each other's throats throughout this. It's 8 laps of racing here, but we're down to the penultimate. Harambe.
Some of these Bs are taking full advantage of suddenly being in amongst these As here. They've got an extra lap to go. It's 2 laps to go for our As. It's 3 laps to go for the Bs that have just been caught here. Ruiz at the front, and a few of them jumping in amongst them. Are they going to be able to drop them through this next time through? Are we going to have a mixed category race for the last 2.5/3.5 laps?
It kind of reminds me of mixed start gravel races, right? Where if the faster category than yours, if you just hang with them as long as you can, and it's always going to be good for trying to build up an advantage. This is where the reckoning happens on these kicks.
Sanders here. Interesting. Is he going to be able to take one of these down? It's been touch and go. Siri, where is Siri? Not involved any longer at the front here. Maybe a little bit too much early on. McLaughlin now coming on through. It's going to be McLaughlin and Sanders leading the charge. Hennessy is now there. Where's INOX? Are they off the back here at this point? Santi Pereira now from P to Z. J Funk suddenly in and amongst this whole thing. He's a B rider, that's for sure, as well as Gabrielli there from INOX now getting some advantage. Here comes Ruiz up and over the top as DeSmet looks to cover.
Well, I tell you, INOX was throwing their watts around like a drunken sailor earlier, and now it looks like they're just about out of cash. It looks like this is going to be a tough moment. Gap starting to open up back through the field. Well, a whole new level out here now, and such a small group. Very few riders to help work and bring back gaps now.
Taking a look at Hennessy here real quick. I want to know what this rider is feeling. 186 beats per minute currently from Jeremy as he looks to hang on at this point. How is Santa Pereira doing? This is the other rider. Watch out. Also having a tough time, it looks like. 159 beats per minute. It looks like Santa Pereira maybe with a lot left in the tank here at this point. But Smet, he burned a lot of matches there. I wonder if he's going to have a whole lot left for the finish line. Give me one to go here soon.
Yeah, getting down to the last Ronde 8 now. A 6-rider group. Good call on Smet, though. Was that a little too much? Still hanging in there. Credit where it's due, the INOX rider.
Final feather power up maybe being used from Jeremy Hennessy there, looking for an arrow. That's what I would want going into the final champion sprint, that's for sure.
Well, the bell will be ringing. 1 lap to go, 1 to go. Last chance to recon this sprint. Most riders would know this really well.
It's a tough one to get right. It's a really tough one to get right. The speeds can change so much, especially with this little bump right here. It goes from a negative 1% to a positive 1%, and you can lose in that final 50 so easily if you don't time it right.
All right, again, now we've gone inside of the last lap. They're working through more traffic here. We've got riders all over the course at this point.
That's interesting, that's for sure. With all the extra furniture out there today. Nice kick from DeSmet. He does not want to sprint to the line. Obviously, he is looking for a breakaway using the feather power up so early, actually. Not on the Clyde kicker.
Yeah, I almost wonder. So he decided he wanted to play the 5-minute power game, not the 2-minute, not the 15-second.
Now up into 402 watts. The chase is on here from Ruiz. It looks like McLaughlin also sitting in perfectly. It's going to be Ruiz that's going to do all the work here. Hennessy as well as Santi Pereira just sitting in, allowing Ruiz to do that work. DeSmet unable to break them, as you can see.
Yeah, and if that didn't work, Nathan, that's going to take the wind out of his sails, I would think. They did not play around, didn't let that gap get much over a couple seconds.
Matthew DeSmet, 7 watts per kilogram, continuing on this one.
Yeah, you still got to catch him, right? It's not over. He's keeping him on the ropes right now.
Ruiz, the freight train, leading things out. I think everybody else is just trying to hang on to these two at this point. Now here comes the kick. Ruiz, I think they're going to come over the top of him because of the reality of how much that he's been working to try and bring that back. Here comes Sanders. McLaughlin's still there. Ruiz now with another kick. DeSmet's still off the front, but ooh, Dave, I'm not sure he's going to be able to hang on to this one, though, after that kick here. Hennessy now getting dropped. It looks like Santa Pereira just looking to hang on.
Well, that was a bit of a surprise, to tell you the truth. I thought Hennessy was going to be locked down in this group. They do have a gap on him, and he's not the most dangerous sprinter on paper. I mean, Ruiz is, right? At this point, Nathan, in this group?
Yeah, Ruiz is the most dangerous one for sure. Here comes another kick from Ruiz as he comes up and over the top now, looking to go across. It is going to be McLaughlin here now on the front. Santa Pereira, he has been really sitting in and waiting for the final, I think, here.
So Matthew DeSmet, if he can hang in there, he still has a really strong kick. Just the concern being that big attack he made just a couple of minutes ago. Is the price he's going to have to pay for that going to affect the ultimate outcome in the sprint?
Sanders, no heart rate actually for Sanders. Maybe a malfunction there for a moment, as we were seeing from Tim Sanders. But now 170 beats per minute here coming from McLaughlin. It's going to be McLaughlin sitting in, following the wheels now. Sanders coming up over the top. You don't want to lean this from the front. Santa Pereira still in a perfect position. He's played this almost perfectly. The only question is whether or not he's got the kick to challenge the likes of Ruiz. Ruiz kicks. I think he's gone now at this point. Unable to cover what we're going to be seeing here from him, I think. Up into 16 watts per kilogram. Big kick from Ruiz, and I don't think that anyone's going to cover him. Second kick from him, and I think that's all done and dusted.
Yeah, just a couple 100 meters left to hang on. And this one is put paid out here.
Santa Pereira going to be taking second place, it looks like. Sat in, waited and waited. McLaughlin going to be taking third. It looks like Hennessy unable to follow on that one. And now the quick turnaround there.
Wow.
You see that was like an instant turnaround.
The officials would not be happy with that move.
Going against the traffic immediately. Oh,
yeah.
Goodness. Well, Ruiz does take that one down. It looks like Santa Pereira, who sat in, looking to take the FAL. Unable to do so, though, against the monster watts of Ruiz. And let's see if we can get some results here in for everybody as we look to promote this awesome series that Team INOX is putting on. And this is what we've got today, it looks like. Dave, take it away for our top six.
Well, congratulations to the Argentinian Gonzalo Ruiz with the win for our host club, Winters Tour. Team INOX and INOX getting the win. Santi Pereira, the Spanish rider, in for second for P to Z. Canadian Neil McLaughlin in for third, taking the bronze medal in today's Glasgow Crit. Tim Sanders for fourth for MTNT. Jeremy Hennessy does hold on for fifth, the draft rider. And then you can see the GC leader. And I know he will hold on to his GC lead. It's Matthew DeSmet. Congratulations, Matthew, for a sixth place today here in our Winters Tour stage.
Yeah, it's great to be jumping in and able to promote this community racing and what INOX is up to. Now, again, everybody, if you do want to jump in with Team INOX and what they're doing all the way through March 21st is what they're going to be doing this winter series with. So there's plenty of time to jump in with them. December 20th through March 21st, 21 races that are going to be scheduled. They had special races specifically on these Mondays, actually, because of the holidays. But they will be also having them on Tuesdays as well as Fridays moving forward. So be on the watch out for that. Get on over to teaminox.it in order to go and find out all the information that you want to about that. We're going to be back, actually, Dave, next week, though, with something that's kind of close to our hearts that we were covering for a really long time in Zwift Community Live with the Z Racing. We're going to be doing one of the Z races here with the Fast Stage 2. We've seen a lot of good times in and amongst that crowd, but we'll be live next Tuesday with that. I'm looking forward to that. I have a feeling we may be able to get some familiar names jumping in. I'm thinking of Mr. Charles McCarthy and a few others.
Fun. Yeah, it's going to be great, no doubt. I'll look forward to be back on Tuesdays in our regular time slot.
Yeah, back to our time stop. And after Z Racing, we'll be back right with you with the Zwift Racing League. But everybody, we really appreciate you jumping in with us for the holidays. Happy New Year to everybody from Dave and I. We'll see you next week for Flat is Fast stage number 2 with Z Racing. As always, from Dave and I, ride on.